All right, we are live. I'm Ruth Backlund. I'm an RN. I'm the owner and founder of Energy Works Myofascial Release here in Duluth, Minnesota, and the host of this podcast, That Thing You Do, Alternatives in Healthcare, which is for entrepreneurship, alternatives in healthcare, both in a clinical setting or online, and other discussions about how we choose healthcare or other options around healthcare as well. So today's guest in episode 4 is Dr. Lara.
Hill.
Dr. Lara Hill.
Lara Hill.
So you do this live, so then you mess it up. So Dr. Lara Hill, and she's a doctor of chiropractic, and your official business is Dr. Lara Hill Chiropractic for Body and Life, correct?
That's sort of the tagline, yeah.
Tagline, okay.
Pretty much the official business name is Dr. Lara Hill, DC.
Just Dr. Lara
Yeah.
Hill, DC. Okay, perfect. So now when I met Lara for the first time, you do something different than what I traditionally understand chiropractic medicine to be. So I grew up with the crack and pop, really,
Sure.
Heavy manual cracking and popping or a drop table, those kind of things. And I know those are still out there because I've experienced that in my adulthood as well. But you do something a little bit different, and probably a lot different actually.
Very
so
different, yeah.
thought I would let you kind of elaborate what you do and how you do it and go from there.
Sure. So you're wondering what it is that I do that's different from sort of conventional chiropractic. Well, one of the things that, I oftentimes say is one of the main distinctions between what I do and sort of what we typically think of with, if you were to see a conventional chiropractor in the Duluth area or the Minnesota area, apart from the actual application of the technique itself, one of the big differences is really, if you were to go to a more conventional chiropractor, typically what you're looking at is more of a symptomatic approach. So you have something going on and they're looking to get you out of that symptom as quickly as possible. Obviously, I want to see people's symptoms go away. I don't want anyone to suffer or be in pain. But what I'm doing is I'm actually looking at what is the sort of root cause of what's going on, and more importantly, how can we help your body sort of reorganize and support itself for a more longer sustainable change. So it's sort of reorganizing and retraining its own self as opposed to me doing something to or for you. So really what that looks like is we're intervening where typically with a chiropractor you're thinking of someone intervening more at the level of the bone, i.e. putting a bone back into place, right?
Yeah.
Or sometimes at the level of the muscle, depending on what kind of work that they do. But really what we're doing is we're recognizing that the bone doesn't move itself, of course. It's moved by the muscles. But the muscles actually don't move themselves either, right? They're actually moved by the nervous system. Yeah. So what we're doing is we're actually intervening at that level. We're sort of going all the way up the chain to the master control system of it all and helping that system to kind of reorganize itself and really ultimately have more connection between the body and the brain. Because here's the thing, Ruth, is everyone's body knows exactly what to do and completely how to be healthy, right? When it's in when we're in our natural state, we know how to do that internally. There's a internal wisdom that we have all inside of us, which when we cut our finger, it knows how to heal. We don't have to instruct it or treat it or do anything. It just is what happens. Yeah. So the only time that kind of gets out of whack is when that disconnection happens between your brain, body, and that intelligence, essentially. And so really what we're doing is not necessarily treating or, looking at a symptom and trying to get rid of that. It's really just expanding upon and really removing any interference from that wisdom, doing what it does the best, which is heal you and make you a healthy, happy, vibrant person.
Nice. Now there's a special name for that, right?
Sure, yeah. So it's more of a vitalistic approach to chiropractic, and specifically network spinal is that approach. Yeah.
Okay. So when you, you described a little bit of it for network spinal, but if somebody came into your office, how would you explain that to them?
Well, honestly, I don't. When someone comes into their office, I don't really explain it to them. I'm going to have more of this level conversation of talking about the spine and the nervous system and all of, these things and more that we've already started to talk about. Because here's what I find. People actually don't really care all that much about my technique. What they really care about, quite honestly, is do you care, number one, most importantly, and can you help me? Yeah. And so really I want to help people connect with, number one, just what it is that we're looking for and how it is that we're looking for it on a more simple level. And a lot of that education, about exactly how we're doing that, what that looks like, that happens kind of along the line. And I do have a very educational process that I bring people through. I want people to be empowered in their health. I want them to not just be coming to me so I can fix them and send them on their way, but really what I want to do is have this be a collaborative, co-creative process where we're moving together them towards their most optimal health.
Okay. So what got you down this path? I mean, I've not heard of that before, right? Not heard of your approach before. So how did you find it, or did it find you?
Sure. Well, a little bit of both, I think, actually. And I am the only one in Duluth who practices this approach, so I'm not surprised that you've never heard of it. And I actually didn't hear of it anywhere, actually even in Minnesota. So it actually, I regard it sort of as a calling. It's one of those things that, like you said, it sort of finds you. And so I actually ended up having to go all the way to California for my in order for myself to stumble upon it. But really what it was is at that time I was teaching yoga and I was teaching Pilates and doing personal training and living a very, very healthy lifestyle. My background, my undergraduate degree was in health and wellness with an emphasis in spirituality and healing. So I very much embodied that lifestyle of holistic health. I probably meditated an hour a day, sometimes more. So pretty much all those, boxes that you could check for living the healthiest life you could imagine, mind, body, and spirit. I was doing those things. But I will tell you this, when I did find this work, and it was actually through a practitioner that was doing it, I knew I had to do it. And when I did get in care, and I didn't have anything severe going on, I just kind of wanted to find more balance in my body and life. And but when I did, it transformed my life in a way that nothing else I've ever had. And I often joke that for someone who kind of was making a lifestyle out of transformation at that point, that was kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And so, I still didn't necessarily think that I would, go and be a chiropractor. It just seemed like kind of some very different offshoot from chiropractic. But when I did look into it a little bit more and I learned actually about the fundamental founding chiropractic principles, I really recognized that this was everything that I had come to know about health and wellness and well-being and spirituality as it was related to all that. So sort of everything that I described in that sense of your body is a self-healing machine, and really our job is not to diagnose or treat anything, but just simply to allow, remove any interference to that and doing what it does best. So that was really how I came upon it, and it's a really fun story. It's one of my most, one of my favorite stories to tell, as far as, kind of all of the serendipity that led to that, but we'll save that one for a different day.
Well, if you ever feel like you want to share that today, you can do that too. So
of course.
Funny stories are always good. So when people come to see you, what tends to draw them to you? I mean, what's the most common thing, I guess? There's usually 1, 2, or 3 things that you see all the time.
Right, exactly. And I think probably the answer to that is it depends. Okay. It depends on if there's someone who just found me on the street or if there's someone who was referred by an existing patient or practice member, as I often call them. If it's someone who, is coming to me, off the street, typically, they're going to be looking for me for the things that people look for chiropractors for most of the time. So, that tends to be musculoskeletal complaints. That's the main thing, maybe headaches or something along those lines. Now, people who are referred to me is a very different story. Because most likely those people that are referring them are very well educated, having heard a lot of the information that I've shared, and whether it's through their intake process or in the many different classes that I offer practice members and the community, and B, they have an experience, right, that's different from just a concept of what a chiropractor is. So those people are going to tend to refer to people who have, number one, all different ailments, not necessarily just musculoskeletal ailments, but they recognize that the nervous system goes to every single part of your body, and not just, the muscles or, actually, only about 8 to 10% of your nervous system has anything to do with pain, for example. Everything else has to do with function and the way you experience the world and live your life, right? And so they recognize that, and so if they see people in their life who they feel could benefit from chiropractic care in any of those multitude of other ways, they may be more likely to send those people. And then the other thing is, and this is probably even more common, is they have experienced and seen in other people that are in care the changes that have happened in their mental, emotional, and spiritual, sometimes life as a result of being in care. And so, I've had lots of people who have referred to me or come to me just saying, I saw the extraordinary way that my friend's life just, completely changed and transformed in care, and I want that too. So I have had people come to me who don't even have anything physical going on necessarily, but they just want to, I've had people who say, I just have, mental health stuff. Maybe I've been depressed for a long time, or, I feel like you could help me in that way. And I've actually just had people who say, I'm pretty healthy, but honestly, I feel like you can help me get to the next level. And I love hearing that. I love having people come in with, that problem to be solved. This is a good problem.
Yeah, exactly. So you just want to elevate a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a quality problem.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So when people come in to see you, is there generally a concern that they would have? I mean, sometimes when if they haven't experienced what you do, or maybe they've never even been to a chiropractor before, some people are nervous. Like, I get people who are just really not sure what to expect when they come in. So what kind of concerns do you folks have?
Well, I guess that really depends on the person and, what it is that they're coming for, or the experiences that they've had in the past. Sometimes it is with the higher force adjustments that, they don't want to get their neck cracked or something along those lines. And sometimes that's why people come to me, because they've heard that I have a much more gentle approach. So that's probably one of the bigger ones. I think in general, going to a healthcare setting can be, intimidating for people. I think the second that they step into our office, they feel that it's sort of a different experience from what they're used to typically. I'm sure you get that experience as well here. So, I think a lot of those things, and I think a lot of the people that come into the practice, especially if it's through one of the events, maybe they've visited an event or come to one of our dinner events, or like the brunch one that we're having on Saturday, or a lunch and learn, or any of those, if they get a chance to meet kind of me and see who we are, that really makes a difference too, because a lot of times they have a sense of, I think who you are makes a really big difference to a person. They can really relax and feel comfortable and know that they're going to be in good hands.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, there's nothing like bumping up against somebody and you don't connect for whatever reason. We've all felt that energy, right?
Right.
You just, whatever it is, we just don't connect.
Exactly.
So, yeah, very good.
And, along those lines, I always let people know, because, I often offer a free consultation, sort of a pre-consultation for people to come in, give me an opportunity to hear about them and what they have going on, and really ultimately for them to see if the care in their office is a good fit. Because ultimately, if it isn't, really both of us want to know that as soon as possible, ideally before they even start going in through the exam process. And if it isn't, also, I want to be able to find someone to send them to that is going to be a better fit. Because I believe, honestly, that everyone should be in chiropractic care. I think it's a really powerful thing, no matter what approach that you do. And I should believe that as a chiropractor.
You should.
And it's really so important to me along those lines that if it's not a good fit with me, I would really like for them to see another chiropractor. And if not another chiropractor, maybe someone like yourself or someone else who really can serve them in a better way than I can, whether it's through personality or approach or whatever the case may be.
Yeah. Okay. Now, I think you do other things in your office as well, because you're more holistic, right? So I know your main approach is what you primarily focus on, but do you do nutrition stuff, other lifestyle things?
Well, first of all, let's define holistic, because, a lot of people don't even really understand or know what that means, right?
True.
And so, yes, as I mentioned with my background, I do believe that holistic health, looking at, let's say, a holistic approach to health is the probably only complete way of really approaching health at all. Any other sort of piecemeal approach in the sense of, kind of just looking at one part without recognizing that it's a part of a whole, it really does fall short. So I believe that is the best picture of health. With that said, I think that each and every one of us brings who we are to what we do. And so some people do that through one specific thing, some through many things. And some people, even if they're doing that specific thing, they still bring their gifts through that thing. Right. I, live a lifestyle of holistic health for sure. I am very focused on nutrition and diet and all of those things. I take care of myself in a whole multitude of ways. And also, I believe a lot in excellence, professionally speaking. So while I do from time to time, I'll offer nutritional advice or something along those lines to people, I really do make it a point to focus especially on chiropractic care. So there's a very good reason for that, and that's because I really want to be the best at what I do, and I dedicate hundreds of hours every year to doing that. Yep. And so if I was to say I'm going to start giving nutritional advice or recommendations to people, or counseling people or having consultations with people in that way, not that there's anything wrong with that. I think that's an amazing thing to do. But if I was going to do that, I would really want to be excellent at that too. I don't want to be, monkeying around with people's nutritional life without, being really good at that. Yep, yep. And in order to do that, I would have to take time to go and do those things, which really ultimately would take time away from me going and being excellent at what I do, which is, this very, very, very complex and intricate type of chiropractic care as it is. Yeah. So that's really kind of the way I look at it. So what I do is I have, a whole network of people that I refer to, that I like to refer to, that I can then, if someone does need, for example, more nutritional support, I can refer them to someone who has spent their entire life getting really excellent at what they do. Right. Right. So, and, I have various programs that I have for members of the practice to also, give them discounts and members of the community and everything like that. Okay. So that's kind of my approach, and I believe by coming together and, really networking and collaborating and doing all that, we can really do what we do best, which is to live in an interdependent universe, supporting one another. So with that said, I do also, I am definitely passionate about, not only, the physical component of chiropractic, but also personal growth. So if there is one thing that I do beyond the actual spine and nervous system, it's really support people in being the best people they can be in their life. Because I think that, like I talked about earlier with this sense of, I don't want people to come and just have me fix them and go back to their lives. I want people to be empowered in their life and health, to be the healthiest, happiest, most optimized people that they can, right? And I believe that the most empowering way of doing that is through education. So a lot of the classes, workshops, and even retreats and mini retreats that I do are really aimed at that, just helping people kind of get their perspective and their perception around how really to spend time looking within themselves to be the best person that they can, and give them strategies, resources, and really just time looking at that to do that.
Well, and I didn't realize how much you actually did from a community perspective. I mean, I know I was at a Lunch and Learn this week. You have an event coming up tomorrow morning. So if you're here local in Duluth, what's the date today? It's 13th. So tomorrow on the 14th at the Lyric, and I forget what time. I'll actually let you kind of announce what that is, but you have a big event coming up tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. It's at 10:30 a.m. on December 14th, like you said, at the Lyric restaurant down on Superior Street in the Holiday Center. And that's part of really, there's a couple of reasons why I love doing that. I already talked about why education is such a big deal. The other piece is, in order for really that truly holistic approach to health, or holistic picture of health, community is such a big part of that. And probably more now than ever, we really, really, people are craving community and connection and face-to-face interactions. So that's sort of my gift to the world, to be able to help bring people together in that way and have the experience of sitting around a table and getting to connect with other people who are in the same city and really in the same space oftentimes in life that they are. And oftentimes people tell me it's one of their favorite parts about our practice and our office is really those opportunities to do that. Okay. Yeah. So and there's some kind of baseline information that I want, at least at a minimum, everyone in my practice who's patients and practice members who are coming through that process with me, I want them to have that baseline of information. But really, ultimately, if I had it my way, I would have everyone in the world have just some basic information. And so that's, kind of another part of why I do these, is to make sure that people know, because there's just people out there that are suffering, that, feel like they're out of options, that they don't have, really anywhere else to go. And just for them simply to know that there are other options, there's other ways of thinking about health even, that can make such a huge difference in someone's life.
Yep, absolutely, absolutely. Well, that sounds awesome.
Yes, I'm excited. I'm excited not only to be able to spread that myself, but to create, little health warriors that can go out there and send that message too, because I think that, knowledge is power, and really sharing that knowledge with the world and empowering other people to share it is a pretty big deal.
Yeah, absolutely.
So thank you for doing what you're doing here as well.
Yeah, thank you. Now, you said you went to California for your training. Is that the only place that does the network spinal training?
So I went to California for my Doctor of Chiropractic degree. Okay. Yes. Well, I went to California, and then I did my Doctor of Chiropractic degree there. That is not the only place where... So network spinal is sort of a separate above and beyond. So you go through the entire chiropractic curriculum, and then as far as what you specialize in, you may actually go, beyond the school to specialize in that, different or extra approach. So that's really what network spinal was for me. So it's really, in my case, hundreds of hours of seminars outside, above and beyond that program, learning about that.
So a lot of times I get professionals who are watching as well. It's not just a general community, but it's also healthcare professionals. So where specifically did you go for that? I mean, if somebody was interested in pursuing that, and maybe they're already a chiropractor and they're just looking for something different, where would you recommend? Is there...
Yeah, absolutely. And this work, certainly network spinal is for chiropractors, but there's a lot of things that... the same sort of company that, or not company, but the same founders of this approach also do other things that are for even lay people. And certainly healers really can benefit from being optimized in that way. So Epienergetics is the name of that sort of parent company, who teaches network spinal for chiropractors, and also holds various programs for other healers or lay people. If they're interested in being involved with that. So I believe this epienergetics.com is a really great place to go and kind of learn more. They've got lots of videos, and also all of their events, that are coming up all over the world, everywhere from, a lot of their events are in Denver, East Coast, West Coast, a lot of them around chiropractic schools. They're having many times a year, and also in Europe, and, all over the world. They're having events. So
nice. Okay. So if people want to stay in touch with you, how would they find you? Facebook, website, just let people know. I mean, I'll put this stuff in the comments and Facebook, but where can people find you?
Perfect. Yeah, there's so many ways. Very accessible. The website is a great place to start. That's just drlarahill.com, so drlarahill.com. And that, of course, has all the contact information, email, and also you can schedule real-time an appointment for that free pre-consultation that I talked about. You can schedule that right on the website, so it's really easy to do there. Facebook, you can find it's, facebook.com/Lara Hill DC, so that's pretty easy to find. That's also where you can find the events. All of the events usually are posted through there, and you can go on and get the tickets and make sure you reserve your meal right through that. As far as phone, I love the phone number that I managed to find, which is 218-GO4MORE.
Oh my gosh.
Which, it just really embodies what we're doing.
Yeah.
So it's GO4MORE if you were spelling it out on your phone. Yep, so that's the phone number that you can call, and we have that, text message enabled, and, of course, regular phone if anyone does that anymore.
Right,
I don't know
not
if
very
anyone
often.
uses the phone anymore, but
not much.
those are kind of the best ways of contacting us, and email is, pretty easy as well. Again, it's info@drlarahill.com. So.
Okay, all right. Anything else you want to share with our viewers today?
I think, I just want to thank you for, what you do and what you're bringing, to the world through this podcast, and, certainly for, all the things that you're doing, right here in the space that you're in and the town that we're in, for the individuals and community. And thank you so much for having me today.
Thank you. Well, that's it for us today, folks, and thank you again for coming on this snowy day again. But we're going to sign off and wish you all a nice weekend.